All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're pulling back the curtain on a really cool AI success story from Google, their virtual research assistant, NotebookLM. We're going to dig into how this thing went from just a tiny experiment to a seriously powerful tool people are using all over the world. So yeah, let's get right into it. So you know this feeling, right? You're trying to get a project done, maybe cramming for a big exam, or just trying to wrap your head around a super complex topic, and you are just buried under this mountain of documents, articles, notes. It's just information overload. Well, that is the exact problem NotebookLM was born to solve. So where did this all start? Well, you might be surprised. It wasn't some huge top-down corporate project. Nope. It all began as this small, super focused experiment inside Google Labs. And the idea was, it was simple but really powerful. What if you could have an AI assistant that was a complete expert, but only in your documents?
And the timeline here, this is what's just nuts. The idea first pops up in mid-2022. And just 6 weeks later, this small team has a working prototype they were calling Project Tailwind. Then you fast forward about a year to July 2023, and boom, it launches to the public as NotebookLM. I mean, that is an incredibly fast trip from a concept to a real product you can use.
And get this, that team that built the very first prototype, it wasn't some massive division with a huge budget. No, it was just 4 or 5 people, and they were working on it part-time. It's just a fantastic reminder that even inside a giant company like Google, a small, passionate team can still create something totally new and game-changing. Okay, so as NotebookLM started to grow, it was guided by this really simple but honestly brilliant philosophy. The goal was never just about building impressive tech for the sake of it. No, they wanted to build something genuinely indispensable. They called it magical meets useful, and that idea pretty much shaped every single feature. And this quote right here from Steven Johnson, who's been part of the project from the very beginning, this is the key. He says the team is always aiming for the intersection point of the newly magical and the actually useful. And that's it, right? It's a constant balancing act. On one side, you've got the newly magical stuff, all the wild possibilities of cutting-edge AI. And on the other, you have the actually useful, what real people actually need to get stuff done. The magic happens right where those two things meet.
So how do they figure out what's actually useful? It's simple. They listen. Like, they really listen. The team is on Discord. They're looking at in-app feedback forms, talking directly to their users. And look, this isn't just for show. When users started asking for key features like inline citations, those requests went straight from their keyboards onto the product roadmap and right into the tool. It's a direct pipeline from a user's idea to a feature everyone can use.
And here's a perfect example of this in action, the audio overviews feature. Instead of just reading a boring text summary, NotebookLM can take your documents and spin them into a podcast-style conversation between 2 AI hosts. How cool is that? It's just a super creative, engaging way to synthesize information, and it came directly from the team thinking, how can we make this more useful for people to absorb their material? And here is a killer example of that feedback loop just working perfectly. So the team had planned to roll out audio overviews in just 4 new languages. But as soon as they mentioned it, users immediately started asking for more, a lot more. So the team dug in, they realized the model could actually support way more, and they expanded it to over 80 languages. And the result? Daily usage of that feature doubled in just 2 weeks. I mean, that's a huge win, and it was driven entirely by listening to what their users wanted. This super close relationship with users led to the next big step in its evolution. NotebookLM was becoming way more than just a personal research assistant. People wanted to share the amazing stuff they were learning and creating. The tool was about to become a platform. And when the team finally launched the ability to share notebooks publicly, wow, the response was immediate and huge. In the first 4 weeks alone, people created over 140,000 public notebooks.
So this clearly wasn't some little niche feature. It tapped into this massive desire people had to share curated knowledge with the rest of the world. So building on that momentum, the team started partnering with all these respected authors, publications, and researchers to create what they call featured notebooks. So now you can just jump in and dive into expert analysis from The Economist, or explore advice columns from The Atlantic, or even query the entire works of William Shakespeare. It's all right there in the interface. It's kind of like having an expert's entire library and a personal research assistant rolled into one. So where does it all go from here? What's next? Well, the next chapter is all about adding totally new ways to understand and share complex information, moving beyond just text and audio and getting into the visual. And that next step is something called video overviews. This is a brand new feature that takes things to a whole other level. It actually generates narrated slides for you, pulling images, diagrams, and key quotes directly from your source documents. It's designed to make those really complex or abstract ideas much easier to actually see and understand. And alongside that, the whole creative space inside NotebookLM, the studio, has gotten a major upgrade. Okay, so here's the key thing to understand. Before, you're pretty limited. You could only create one of each type of output, like one mind map, one study guide, that's it. But now you can create and save multiple versions of each. You can tailor them for totally different purposes or different audiences, all inside the very same notebook. And this flexibility, it opens up some really powerful new ways to work. I mean, imagine you're managing a global team. Now you can create audio overviews in a bunch of different languages from the same source. Or let's say you're a project lead. You could whip up different video summaries from the same reports, a technical one for the engineers, and a high-level one for marketing. And if you're a student, oh man, you can now make a unique mind map for every single chapter of your notes. It's a huge leap in just how much you can customize it. Okay, so after this incredible journey, right, from a tiny 6-week experiment to this full-blown platform, what does it all really mean for you, for the person actually using it? How does this whole story circle back to that first problem of just trying to make sense of a mountain of information? Well, it all comes down to this really simple but kind of profound idea. See, NotebookLM isn't another AI that just knows everything on the internet. It's an AI partner that becomes an instant expert in the stuff that matters most to you. Why? Because it's grounded completely in the sources that you provide. It really is your own personalized research assistant. And that really brings us to a final thought. Just forget about the tech for a second and think about the possibility here. If you had an assistant, a tool that could instantly read, understand, and master your most important documents in seconds, what would be the very first thing you'd ask?